Hello, everyone. This is Audrey. Today, I'd like to share a special Copilot solution with you. I decided that I wanted to be able to share with you some of the projects that I have on the side. These are Copilot projects that kind of help illustrate when and why you might use certain features. I did notice, now I'm just going to kind of switch on my screen here to the Copilot Studio community. I just want to show you. Now, you'd want to sign in here, even though I'm not signed in. It's because I'm in a demo tenant here. But if you go down to this community, and I'll put the link to the community in the description, and you scroll down, you'll see that there is a bot sharing gallery. It doesn't have many things in it right now, but I figured this might be a good place for me to start sharing also the co-pilots that I've been making past couple of months, so to speak. And I'll tell you about them in a minute. But I'm also inviting all of you who are also experts in kind of all things conversational UI to share your own co-pilots in this gallery. I think it's a great way for us to enable each other to kind of download what others have created and use it as a starting point or as a learning point in our projects. So that is the reason why I'm doing this video, to explain the first Copilot that I'm putting in that gallery. All right. And as you know, Copilot Studio is just kind of putting it in context with Microsoft Copilot, is that it is the place where you create custom copilots, where you can extend certain solution accelerators like the dynamic service copilot and things like that, but also where you can make your own copilot. And then the model that you have there when you're making your own is it's your copilot your way. Customize, build, and manage your own unique copilots. So when you think about all that Copilot Studio does, my projects that I'm working on are designed to kind of highlight these different building blocks. So as you can see from this slide, Copilot Studio offers quite a bit of functionality, and it's our job as problem solvers to decide when we want to use what aspects of Copilot Studio to meet our requirements, to give us business value back. So you'll see us talking a lot about Copilot Building Studio, because that's where you'll find the key workspaces like plugins, which enables you to even extend it further with many connectors out of the box. Generative AI, which I'm going to talk a lot about today, probably, which is probably the newest kid on the block. But we also have, as we used to with Power Virtual Agents, we have full control over where we publish our copilots to. So we have channel publishing, and then we can measure the success of our copilots through analytics and insights, right? So all of that is part of the building studio. And then there's the automation studio, where we can drive automation into our copilots. Think about all those wonderful things that you do with Power Automate, but also any digital process automation that might fit into a conversational flow to enable more of a transactional like experience. And you might think of that as well with plugins as well. And then finally, you have Admin Studio, because there's not a single solution on the planet that we don't need to keep our eyes on for administration and distribution, managing security, managing compliance and governance. And that's part of the Admin Studio. So as I build these bot or co-pilot examples, and I add them to the gallery, I'll be focusing on highlighting these different aspects so that you can get some examples of how to use them if you're brand new to building copilots and or conversational UI type solutions. All right. So let me tell you about the ones I've been working on and the one I'm going to share with you today. All right. So I have three Copilots that are targeting the community gallery, starting with the one I'm going to post today. But then over the course of the next couple of months, you'll see all three of these. All right, so the first one is the Reality Check Copilot. This is Reality Check is the name of my chess club that was in virtual reality. So this was back when AltSpace, before AltSpace sunsetted. I actually had a chess club in virtual reality, and that chess club had members from all over the world. So basically, in hindsight, I'm building a co-pilot for that VR experience. But this co-pilot doesn't just support the virtual reality chess club, it also supports sales. So someone who maybe sells chess supplies would appreciate a co-pilot helping their customers understand, quickly where to find what they're looking for. And anytime you expedite someone's ability to isolate what would be best for them, you increase the potential of sales, right? Or the conversion rate. So it'll support sales, but it also supports training people new to chess. So I think this is a good co-pilot to start with, because I think anyone out there learning chess would actually benefit from using the Reality Check co-pilot. Another one that I'm working on is the Pin Concierge. Anyone that's known me for any length of time knows that I am a fountain pen enthusiast. So this one is supporting sales from gouletpens.com, training, and also limited series notifications. Okay, kind of being notified when limited series pens are made available. And so this is a fictional copilot in the sense that it is not actually supporting Goulet Pens business at all. It's just using Goulet Pens as its repository, since Goulet Pens is awesome at having a very rich website. So you'll get to see lots of things with that copilot. Again, kind of B2C. And then finally, an interesting one that I just kind of decided to work on with a friend who is a meteorologist, right? We've been talking about this weather safety agent. So imagine you live somewhere where there might be weather notifications that you need to keep track of for safety reasons. And so the real point of the weather safety agent is to do weather research, to get notifications on urgent or priority weather, and then to plan safety. So that's going to be a fun one to do. My goal for that one is to end up with a mobile co-pilot. So these are the three that are coming to the gallery, and today we're going to start with Reality Check. So without further ado, let's go look at this Copilot, and then you'll have the ability to download it from the community gallery. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open up this Copilot. This is actually in my demo tenant, and I'm just going to demo it to you directly from that tenant, as opposed to kind of setting up a website, because I don't think it's necessary in this case. But if you feel like you would like to see this in a website scenario, let me know in the comments below, and maybe I will add that so that when you want to test it, you'll be able to test it without a download. Okay, so this is a fully fledged solution. So if I open up my admin center, I'm sorry, not my admin center, my Power Apps, you'll see that I do have everything in a solution, and that solution is what's going to be added to the gallery, as well as this video. And all you can do is you'll be able to import this solution into your own environment. It doesn't have any critical connectors, so it should be very easy for you to reuse. All right, so let's talk about it up close. Now you'll notice that when this Copilot kicks off, It basically starts over here on the left with a little introduction. Hello, I'm the Reality Check Copilot, a virtual assistant specializing in all things chess related, such as chess supplies, chess trainings, and online tournaments. Just so that you are aware, I sometimes use AI to answer your questions. So that's a slight modification from the default. Um, but I always feel it's important to let your audience know the purpose of the solution. I think with conversational UI, it's important to scope the consumer so that they're not expecting something that's not available, right? But this one is quite broad because it's using generative AI, and that generative AI is attached to three public sites. So if I just click on that setting, you'll see that I'm using three public sites. I'm using lightchess.org, which is a free um, chess supporting digital site. Chess.com, which most people are familiar with if they've been playing chess for any period of time. Chess.com and lightchess.com allow for online games, tournaments, and training. And then I have a public website called Chess USA. I am not promoting this site in any way. It is being used as an example as the other two. So none of these are promotions. They're just simply examples of how you can enrichen your generative AI with websites that are helpful for the purpose. Okay, so basically keeping that in mind, this is how the generative AI is kind of developing or generating its answers against one of these three sites. And you'll see there are situations where I narrow this down as well, and I'll show you that. So for everything that I did, now in hindsight, I might have done this intro a little bit differently if I had known in advance I was going to enable dynamic chaining. When I started this, I didn't have dynamic chaining enabled, and then after the fact, I added dynamic chaining. So maybe I would have done it differently if I was going to start with dynamic chaining, which is a method of using generative AI in order to determine intent across any number of topics or plugins. And so after I kind of learned about dynamic chaining, I added it, which might have, if I had done that in the reverse, if I had known I was going to enable it, I might have done my intro a little different. I'm not sure, but it would work either way, right? So I start off with an adaptive card, and I think when I built this, because I want to explain to you like the different, why I did different things in a certain way, so that you understand kind of the methods behind what I did. Um, I didn't like the little horizontal rectangles. And that's what you get kind of out of the box when it's determining intent on its own. And I think it wasn't that I don't like them, so let me say that better. I felt like I had too many things involved in that horizontal scroll. And so once I get past three or four, I kind of want to find something else that could be like more vertical. And so I decided to use an adaptive card. And y'all know that I love adaptive cards from my Power Automate days. So adaptive cards are comfortable for me as well. So I just put together this little adaptive card which starts the interaction with the customer, and they can type as well, and it doesn't hurt if they type because the generative boosting will kick in when they just type. But I want to go through these 6 things that are in here, and before I put it in the gallery, I may remove Get the Weather, just because that's a plugin that requires a connection, and I don't want you to get stuck when you import it if you don't have the connection, or if you don't know how to configure the connection. I might move that to the next Copilot because the second scenario has a lot of plugins going on. And so I might make that next Copilot focused on plugins, whereas this one is really focused on optimizing generative AI. So, but I'm going to leave it in today, and I'll talk to you about it briefly. But then just know that it may not be in the upload that Get the Weather. But we will talk a lot about plugins when we get to the pin concierge, okay, as well as the weather safety concierge, okay. So let's talk about each one of these, and they each have a purpose that is almost beyond the business, right? It is almost let's talk about why I'm using certain features in different contexts. So basically, I'm thinking about people. My target audience is about people who are learning chess. And usually, if you're learning chess, you need to buy some supplies, you need to play online, you might want to get involved in learning tactics and do some puzzles. And you may want to join our virtual reality chess club. All right. So I'm going to talk to you about each one of these and why I chose them. Let's start with Learn Chess. Now, the purpose of Learn Chess is basically to enable you to see how you can drill a person down, right? Kind of like what I mean by that is the hardest part of asking questions of anyone is knowing where to start, right? You've got to know what are the right questions to ask, right? And sometimes you just don't know. Maybe you're brand new to chess, you don't even know what you should be asking. And so a conversational UI uses the Copilot as the prompter to help drill down to what you need. So it makes it easier for a person conversing with the Copilot to get to what they need faster because they don't have to know as much as far as what they should ask and what language they should use. So in this case, as soon as they submit Learn Chess, it actually goes through the process of finding out, first of all, what level are they at? Because learning chess at a beginner level is very different from learning chess at an advanced level. There's different things you're targeting. And this is why I chose chess, not only because I love it, but because it's one of those topics that's very deep, right? And it actually does take a completely different journey depending on what level you're at and how long you've been playing. And so that enabled me to put together kind of like a conditional experience for my Copilot end user. So here I'm going to start by saying what level I am, and I've provided these conditions. And they are, in the right side, you see the maker's experience. On the left side here, I think you all know this, that's the consumer's experience. So if this was embedded in Teams or embedded in a website, they would only see what's here in this test Copilot panel. But the maker kind of, as this flows, can see where it is from a conversational UI level. Now I do have dynamic chaining turned on, so I could also turn on tracing, but I'm not going to do it right now because it's not relevant to what I'm talking about at this moment. But I will, I think, in a little bit, all right? So when they pick Learn Chess, they have to kind of state what level they're at. And basically, depending on what level they're at, it'll move on. So first is selecting from here, and you can see that there are conditions for these selections. And depending on what they select, they'll be redirected to a topic for that thing that they've selected, okay? So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and pick beginner, just because I don't want to complicate those of you that don't know chess. I don't want to get into anything too deep. And once I get into beginner, what's going to happen is I'm going to be in this Learn Chess topic. Now, I'm going to go ahead and turn on tracking so you can see this move through the topics, all right? But it's, again, when I talk about drilling down, it's kind of, okay, now I know you're a beginner. That's stored somewhere, right? So my answers to you are going to reflect the whole idea of you being a beginner, you know? And then it wants to know, well, what do you want the most help with? And here I wanted to control the options, especially for a beginner who, again, wouldn't know that openings is a thing they need to study, strategies are the thing they need to study, tactics might be a thing they need to study, and in-game, so they don't even know these terms yet. So by using conversational UI, I can kind of direct their steps. I call this control a little bit of dialogue management here. to help them know what they need, right? And then kind of scope down the responses. So let's say I pick tactics here. Now, when I pick tactics, now I'm actually allowing the Copilot to go ahead and generate a response. All right. Now, this is the reason for this choice from a technical point of view, to show you that you have control over how these prompts are being used. Okay, so basically, um, what has happened here, right? And I probably should have turned on tracing here. Is it went ahead and generated an answer for that beginner, and this is a generated answer by the Copilot. It doesn't exist on the websites anywhere. Um, but then notice that it encapsulates, or I don't know the right word. I'm trying to say a different word that I can't remember on my top of my head right now. But it aggregates top 5 tips, well, actually, top 6 tips in this case, for what you would need to be thinking about for learning tactics, right? And each one of these tips help you to get better at tactics. And if you read these, it's basically giving you instructions right then and there. But also, it gives you a link into, in this case, chess.com's blog on what's essential for tactics. Now, there's a couple things that I did here, because you might assume that the Copilot is generating an answer from the prompt tactics, but actually, that's not it. So if we go back and we look at Learn Chess here, I will show you that I am helping the Copilot by providing some additional um, assistance. Okay, so if we go down to the node for generating the answer, and we'll just go down to that node, and now I'm talking about the right side here as to how I did this. Um, I'm just going to, you can notice there is an input here. This input is a formula. I don't want to get too big because then I'll start losing things, but basically I'll read the formula to you. If you look underneath it, you'll see that I've hovered, and because I hovered, you can see the whole formula. It's actually creating a prompt that is saying, please provide some tips for learning. Learning what? Whatever they clicked on as far as the focus area. Okay? And the focus area is tactics, right? For learning tactics, and for someone at A, and then the level, whatever level they chose, right? So basically, please provide some tips for learning tactics for someone at a beginner level. So we're kind of building the prompt using a formula, so that I can take the things that they have answered, kind of bring them together to enhance the prompt. But then I think I go a little bit further. We're going to go into the properties of that node. No, I didn't in this case. Let's see. No, I didn't in this case. So we'll do this in the next case, right? But right now, I think what this one did was kind of show you that you can build a prompt after you've collected a certain amount of information. That prompt can be built from a formula to give you a lot more power into like how this prompt is passed to the Copilot. All right, and we'll talk about that other thing I was going to show you in another example. So basically, this would work about the same way for any level that I would select, right? And so it's not going to change. There'll be different answers, right? So let's just go back and kind of like just to how do you call it? Summarize, right? When you click Learn Chess, right, the first thing you're asked is your level. So depending on, so if I pick an advanced level, right, I'm going to get a different generated answer, but it works the same way. It just depends on what I'm trying to learn, right? In games, whatever I pick, right? And so basically, it will go ahead and generate that answer, but it also uses that formula to like combine the things that I've already said and give something very targeted to the consumer. All right, and you'll see in games is a whole different set of priorities. We got 7 this time, and we actually ended up with a study plan for the advanced player that is on chess.com. So really cool. My purpose in this first one, as far as Learn Chess, was kind of to show you what you can do with adaptive cards a little bit. For those of you that don't use them a lot, you can make your own little UI. You can end up with a vertical list of choices versus the horizontal, which I think works better when you have more choices, but also gives you an opportunity to embed images or video or other things like that. All right, so that was the purpose of Learn Chess. If you download this, you will actually be able to look at all the properties of these things. Again, hovering over the 3 dots in the different nodes will help you to see kind of like even your what code that I use for the adaptive card. And if you want to look at the formula for the prompt that I use for Learn Chess, you can go ahead and look at that formula up close. So lots of opportunity for kind of looking at how I did things there. Now, what if I choose purchase supplies? Now, the point here was kind of looking at the idea of collecting a certain amount of data from a website. How do you say, I want to not only collect a certain type of data, but I also want to specify where that data is in the website. I don't want this thing to give me responses maybe from everywhere, right? So and there's 2 ways to do that, and you're going to see these. Well, there's lots of ways, but there's 2 ways I use in these 2 choices here: purchase supplies and online events, to actually target information. So let's go ahead and click purchase supplies and submit that. And you'll notice it'll start by asking me what my account number is. Now, the account number is an entity. So this is an opportunity for you to check out how entities are created. And this entity has a regex, which controls the format of the account number, because we don't want them to give us an inaccurate account number. Because think about this transactionally. If they want to purchase something, I need their account number so that I can properly set that order up, right? So if they give me the wrong account number, that would be bad, right? So here I'm typing the account number in the wrong format on purpose, and you'll see that it knows that account number is incorrect, right? And because it knows that account number incorrect, it gives them a little message here. The account number you entered is in an incorrect format. Account numbers are normally 7 digits long, right? And I'll just point out that in this case, it's actually 3 letters and 4 numbers, creating that 7 characters long thing. And then I tell them, I help them, you can find your account number on your membership card. So go look down at your membership card if you don't know what I'm talking about. And then what they should be able to do at that point is go ahead and put the account number in the right format. Now, I will say in one of the other Copilots, we'll talk about how to do queries, because another thing, if this was a real life Copilot, I might also, after I know it's the right format, I might run a query to make sure we have that account number in our records so that it can be properly billed, right? But in this case, I'm going to assume that since it's in the right format, that's a good account number. And now it wants to ask me, what kind of product do I want to purchase? Again, this is a question leading to generative answers that I'm going to leverage next. So let's do wooden chess pieces. Now I could do glass chess pieces. I could do wooden chess boards. Anything that chess. And I don't have to know this in advance. There's no entity for this, even though I could have entities for certain supplies. I decided just to use the AI on this. And this is where there's a lot of time savings here, right? So now it's going to start generating responses on the wooden pieces. And you may have noticed, and I'm just going to go back here to the topic for a minute, and I'm going to point out something. If I go down to the, so first of all, in the regex, right, in the regex, I don't allow it to keep asking too many times. I actually include a way for you to get some help here. So if I go to properties here and question behavior, I actually have a if no entity is found. So basically, if they type it wrong, then the no entity is found, right? So it's not valid, right? So I can set a default value. And so this default value allows me to trap when the entity is wrong, when it's not formatted in the right way. And then I can have a customized message as to what they're going to get when they put it in the wrong way. Okay, so that kind of helps me help them, right? But then the next thing that happens here, and I'm just going to go all the way down to the generated response here, you'll notice that it is passing the skew of what they typed. So they typed, I believe they typed wooden chess pieces. So that is the desired product that is being passed to generative AI. But I wanted it to be structured. I wanted the answer to be very structured. So if we go here and look at the properties on this, I actually add what's called custom instructions here, where I say, play the role of a salesman for chessusa.com. So do not use pronouns such as they, right? Notice it says we offer a wide selection of wooden chess pieces as you are part of the team. So here I am talking to the AI and setting up a role, right? Telling it not to speak in the third person. I want it to feel like a salesperson directly with my website. And I also say, in each response, make a list of the most popular product options with the product name, the SKU, and the price. So I'm giving this Copilot a format in which it should respond. Okay, and notice I left out the word of, but it still understood me. But I would check your custom instructions, right? Double check your custom instructions. And a little tip on this one that's interesting is when people type here as users, the mitigation layers kick in. And if you want to learn more about Microsoft mitigation layers, how we orchestrate these type of conversations with the LLM, then let me know in the description and I'll point you to something about that. But there could be filtering going on here. If anything might appear harmful or inappropriate or breaking any of our responsible AI story, right? We may be filtering in here in the back end, which you don't see, but it definitely could happen. However, when we send custom instructions, there's no filtering on that. So it's kind of like it's our way of controlling the prompt even further. All right. So really love combining these kind of things. Like you saw in the previous option, we used a formula to build a prompt. And then in this option, we use custom instructions to further define the structure of the response and the role the Copilot is playing. And you get this very structured response that you would not get if I didn't type that there. So when you download this, if you want to remove the custom instructions and see what you get, you'll see a string of text that would be more difficult to parse, right? So, okay, so then you get a link to all the wooden pieces, but you get kind of the most popular ones here because I said the most popular product options. So the AI is determining what's most popular, but then it's listing it in the way that I said. So really love that. and understand that at this point, I could do parsing, I could start building an order in a database, so many things I could do right now. But like I said, it's the next couple of Copilots that are going to get into plugins and kind of more of the transactions, right? But um, that is something you want to keep in mind. Now, I want to talk about online events. And here I did something different for targeting, right? So in purchase supplies, I actually did customized instructions, and I made sure that I gave the Copilot a role and blah, blah, blah. But online events was a little bit different. Now, this is where I used something special to target specific pages on the site. All right, so anybody who knows lichess.org and chess.com, you will know that there are tournaments all over the place, because it's not just the tournaments that are sponsored by chess.com, but also in-user tournaments that will show up on the site, right? And so basically, if you look at the response here, what I got back here is five, the top five um, tournaments in chess.com, followed by the top five in lichess.org. But I am specifying where they should look, and you'll see these two pages. One page, if you look on the lower left of my screen, you can see when I hover where this is coming from. This is coming from chess.com/tournaments. The second one is coming from lichess.org/tournament. And I've forced it to only use these two pages. And let me just open that as a tab and kind of show you why. As you, this tournament page basically has all of the tournaments, but if you go beneath this, there is underneath tournaments, there are what's called like the anybody tournaments, right? So /tournaments /a number would get you to a tournament that might be owned by an individual or a club. I don't want it to go below tournaments, because then it would give me those in-user tournaments, and I only want to show in my Copilot the official tournaments of chess.com or lichess.com. So how did I handle that? So what I did here, as opposed to using the website, is I scoped this okay, sorry, I hit the wrong button. I'm gonna go back and hit edit here. I scoped this to a Bing custom search configuration. So I'm just going to flip over to my other place over here. Let's see, hold on. This is my Bing custom search, and this is at customsearch.ai. You can, and I'll put a link in the chat as to how you can do a little learning on this. Bing custom search allows me for public websites to do basically some targeting of pages, queries, and content, right? So here is my instance, and you can have as many instances as you want for different bots. You'll end up with a configuration ID for each one. So I will open up the reality chess, and you will see that I am scoping this just to lichess tournament page and chess.com tournament page. And I'm actually saying don't include subpages, right? You can see that I did this back at the beginning of February, right? And so basically from here, I can say, you know, what tournaments are they? So I can kind of test it over here I don't know, I guess I can do this, right? And when you do a little test, you can see what comes up in the index, right? Now, this will always respond to both, as many pages as you have here, right? So you might have several. And if you say include subpages, it'll go into the subpages. But that's my point of using the Bing search, custom search, is I don't want it to look at any subpages. I don't want the generative AI to give them a tournament that is done by a person. I want these tournaments to only be the official scheduled tournaments on lightchess.com. And that's what you can see I have here. Now, if you want more on Bing Custom Search, put that in the chat. I just don't want to cover too much today, but this is a great tool for targeting content. You can also block content. So, for instance, maybe we had special tournaments that were only available during COVID. And maybe those were, you could win money, right? Because most of the time you don't win money. I guess most of the time you don't win money on remote tournaments. You usually win them only in person. But maybe for COVID, we decided we're going to do some tournaments and we're going to let people win money, but it's only for the sake of COVID. But then we decide, oh, we're not going to do that anymore, right? You can just block that page so that the generative AI won't look at that page and return some tournaments from COVID that's no longer valid, right? Now, of course, you could always archive that page off the website, but we all know how it can be that you just don't have the time to get all that stuff off your website. But you know, please don't use that page in your answers. You can just add that URL to the blocked list, right? And both active and blocked just have a place where you type the URL and then you decide whether you want subpages to be included as well. You can also pin a query. So if I think this is going to be a common ask, right, where I think this is a question that a lot of people are going to ask, I can go ahead and pin this, right? And so I don't want to get too much deep into that, but this kind of thing helps me optimize the queries as well as optimizing what content is being targeted. So I'll put a link in the description about this, and if you want to do more, just let me know, okay? So this is the Bing Custom Search. Now, before I get out of this page, I forgot to show you. Once you finish your whole configuration, you will publish it. And when you publish it, you'll go to your production page where you'll get a configuration ID. And you may use that configuration ID in Copilot Studio. So let's go back, and you'll see that I've put that configuration ID into my Bing Custom Search. And what I had to do is change this from public websites to Bing Custom Search. And now this is targeted to only those pages. But I didn't stop there. Because again, I want that control in how my prompt comes back. So I did list the 5 tournament events scheduled for the current day in chess.com, followed by the next 5 tournaments events scheduled for the current day in lightchess.org. Now, what's interesting here is it's going to use the daily tournaments, right? Because typically ChatGPT powered things cannot get to current day, right? They're not real time. So I put that in the prompt, but I just wanted to see, would it take it, right? Would it allow me to say that, and what would it give back? And actually what it determined to do was to target the daily tournaments, right? Because then it knows it would hit the current day, right? I thought that was interesting. And then the input for that is just simply, I guess I could hover over it. What upcoming tournaments and online matches are available, right? But it's my custom instruction and the targeting to those Bing pages that ends up with this really nice suggestion of tournaments. And then, of course, if I click these, I get to those full pages of all the tournaments going on right now. So again, in this case, I'm using Bing Custom Search and custom instructions to control my prompting. With purchase supplies, I leveraged a formula. So, I'm sorry, with Learn Chess, I leveraged a formula. With purchase supplies, I also leveraged custom instructions, right? So now here's an interesting one that bothered me a little. And I'm just starting over just to make everything fresh. If I click daily puzzle, now here's where I was kind of disappointed in myself, because I envisioned the puzzle showing up on the adaptive card. But the way Lightchess and chess.com handle those embedded widgets is through an iframe. And I don't know if any of you knows how, but I could not find a way to put an iframe into an adaptive card. So if you know how to do that, do a video. I will like it. I will amplify it. I will use it. That will be my favorite thing. But I couldn't figure out how to get an iframe on an adaptive card. And so you'll see that when I submit the daily puzzle, right, it just says your wish is my command, good luck, and then it just gives a button. So this is still an adaptive card, but this is an action button that is open URL. And so when they click on this, it opens up today's puzzle directly in um, in in lightchess.org. And again, I am hard coding the URL for the daily puzzle, which is one URL. So kind of fortunately, it's always the same URL, and it changes every day. And they can actually play it here. I don't remember what the answer for this puzzle was. I really don't. Yeah, I don't remember. I think it was a way to win the queen. Uh, I don't remember. Was it this? No, it wasn't that. Okay, it said it wasn't that. And you probably don't care about this puzzle, right? I don't remember the answer to the puzzle. That's so sad. I do not remember. So we can click view the solution. Ah, the pawn up. Yes, the pawn up traps the queen. Okay, I should have known that. But, you know, my brain doesn't work when I'm doing demos as well as it does when I'm not. Okay, so that's what I chose to do in that case. But I would love it if anybody knows how to put an iframe into adaptive card. It's something I've never encountered the need for until this. But it kind of would be really cool if that puzzle could be right there in the adaptive card. That would be really cool. Now, what's interesting is that if this was a real website targeted Copilot, I could leverage CSS and use the web chat control, and perhaps that iframe would have been much easier, right? But I didn't choose to configure this for a real website because it's really just a sample Copilot. But probably that would have given me the ability to put an iframe on the page if I could leverage CSS, HTML, and the web chat. All right. I'm going to skip get the weather for now because I think I added that at the last minute because I was showing somebody something. And I don't know if I want to get into that today because it'll make this video too long. But that is leveraging a plugin. So I'm going to do join our chess club next and submit that. Kind of should have. It's thinking. Okay, let's just refresh this. And the reason I'm refreshing is because I was really doing this for sample demos, right? And so I need to do a little bit of work to make it very smooth. If I type join a chess club, it would work, but there's a little bit of kickoff that I needed to do some work on, and we can talk about that another day if you want to too. But join our chess club here. It has to do with the fact that I leveraged conversation start, and I really shouldn't have, but we'll talk about that another day. All right, so join our chess club here. It starts with getting your full name. Now this is the only, purchase supplies could have become transactional because after I got that structured response back, I most definitely could have parsed it and done some type of transaction, whether it could be creating the order, sending an email, things like that, leveraging a plugin or leveraging Power Automate. I decided here I could show you a little bit of Power Automate because we know how it's loved. We're going to anybody that wants to be in our chess club, we're going to collect the details that we want and add it to a Dataverse table, okay? And that table can have its own triggers. Like as soon as that's added, send an email to the person who just joined our club with all the links to the things that's going on, the days that we have online training, what headset things we might want to share with them if you're using Quest, if you're using some other type of headset. Here are some things you need to think about. So the virtual chess club needs kind of like a little bit of guidance for people who are joining the chess club, because it's not brick and mortar, it's in virtual reality. And so they got to know how to get there. So basically, after their name is collected, we'll use their email to send them an email, their email address, to send them an email and tell them, here's how you do virtual reality chess, right? Now, I did not add that follow-up business process because, again, it might make your solution a little hard to mitigate, but at least I'm adding the information to a Dataverse table in the current environment. So you would need, in order for this to work, when you import it, you'd need to have a Dataverse instance in the same environment with your Copilot. Okay, that's the only dependency you have in this whole solution. Okay, so it asked me for my full name. Let's go ahead and type that. And then it needs your email address, of course, because this is the process is going to be driven. Now, full name and email address are both built-in. What am I calling? Built-in. Entities. They're both built-in entities, and so I didn't have to create anything. I just leveraged those entities. And then it's asking about my highest recorded chess mating. Now, this is interesting because what is planned here is a little bit of plug-in work later, right? And I didn't do it yet, but basically I want to be able to confirm their chess rating. I might do that in a couple of ways, but for now I'm just collecting it, and it will help me know whether they're beginner, intermediate, advanced, and that will matter when we start processing their membership. Okay, then it kind of just asks a general question so we can know their desired outcome. Why are you interested in joining this chess club? I'd like to play with others around the world, right? So VR chess club, where it's different from a brick and mortar, is basically you literally have avatars walking around rooms with virtual tables and virtual chessboards, and it's just like if you were in a real life chess tournament type situation, because you actually are looking at your opponent across the table from you. You're picking up pieces and you're moving them. So it's very different from online chess like on LiveChess and chess.com, in that you actually are playing chess just using an avatar. So it's kind of cool, but you're actually meeting people from all over the world. They're all in the same room together. It's kind of cool. A virtual room, of course, with tables and chairs and boards, and it's really cool. So then this adaptive card here that kind of summarizes everything that was asked was created by the embedded Copilot. So this is something you might want to try. I think I have another video about this, how you can create an adaptive card using the embedded Copilot in Copilot Studio. This embedded Copilot is only for the maker. The consumer of this Copilot will never see this button, but this button is what I use to create this card. Look at my previous video if you want to know how. And then I did do some slight edits to the card, and I think, you know, the zoom and stuff can matter as far as how this is laid out. But that's the card that's kind of validating their answers. If they say yes, it moves on. If they say no, it'll go back up and ask again, you know, to get the right answers. So I'm going to say no here. I didn't mean to say no. Okay, it's going to start over. And you could actually have a yes, no for each one so that you don't have to start over. But yeah, well, you got to see it, even though I didn't plan to show you this. This is just starting over. Chess rating, classical. And then if you have a chess.com. Now, this is where the plugin can get really interesting, because what you can do is when you collect these usernames on livechess.org and on chess.com, and these are actually my aliases if you ever want to play with me, it can go, we can go in the back end. I didn't in this case. Again, I didn't want to make this a plug-in story, but basically I can go and query these usernames and find out, what their stats are as far as players. Could be very helpful in deciding whether I want to invite this user to be a coach. Maybe I see that they're very good at end games or something, or statistics show that they are like top notch. I might invite them to be a coach in the chess club. So things like that, you can leverage the plugins to do so much more. And then here, all right, so I kind of said the same thing. And this time I'm going to say yes. So, yes. Okay, all of those answers are correct. Now, what it's going to do is use leverage Power Automate to actually update the current environment, right? So basically, it ends up with perfect. We'll reach out to you at that Gmail once your account is set up. Now, I do see a little typo here. There's a space missing. So that gives me a chance to go show you where this is. So that one was new member, right? So I do have a topic for new member. And then if I scroll all the way down, we can go fix that typo. Right here, right? So when you put a variable, you got to remember to put a space after the variable. Otherwise, it'll be rammed up together like that. All right, so that fixes that. So I just click away and hit save. So basically, this one is leveraging Power Automate to update the Dataverse table. So if we go back to that same environment in Power Apps and we open up the Chess Club membership request, which was created by the embedded Copilot in Dataverse, by the way. I didn't create this table. I told the Copilot in Dataverse to create this table. And there you can see that I've done this twice. So just now I did it again, but I had done it before, right? And you can see that I had different reasons for joining this time, right? So I might actually delete these 2 rows just because this is kind of a demo. I like to give my own aliases here. So I'm just going to delete those 2 records. But in real life, when I add those 2 records, there might be a Power Automate flow behind that. It probably would be, that would send out the email to that person welcoming them to the Reality Check Club and giving them tips for how to manage virtual reality chess experiences, because it's very different from online chess experiences. So basically, I think that's everything. So I don't know if that's too long of a video. I hope that each one makes sense. The Get the Weather is a plugin, but it is a very common plugin demo that you have seen. I'm pretty sure you've seen this, the Get the Current Weather. You just have to type in the city and it will give you the weather. But that is a plugin demo that I don't think is relevant here, so I might remove it from the solution because it's not necessary, and it would require that you set up a connector. Nothing else requires anything special, so you can just play this solution. So I hope this is helpful to you, and I look forward to sharing the other 2 Copilots and doing the same thing. There'll be a little video introducing the reasons why I did different things. I might even talk about things I probably would change in hindsight, like you saw me do today. So it's just a way of kind of sharing the thinking with you. Let me know if this interests you, or if you think you'd like something a little bit deeper. Happy to do that. But I hope to talk to you really soon. I know sometime I can get quiet, but we should be able to get back together soon and talk about how you can make your own Copilots the way you want. Customize them, build them, manage them, and you got your own AI solution. All right, so I'll be talking to you soon. Thank you for your time.